Hello and welcome back to week 4 of season 3 of the Open Division. I am your host, Spaceman, and I'm joined here by the nefarious Nari Mizuki and the brilliant Beatdown Boulevard with an expert analysis later on today. So, if you're just joining us, we had a match earlier between the GZ Gaming and the Ferret Boys. It was a 3-0 victory on the side of GZ. A little bit of a stomp, but it was a lot closer than people thought it would be. Now, we've got a game coming up that I'm very excited about, just because of the names of these two teams. We've got Goatstrokers56 versus Team OwO. So, what do you think about those names, Beatdown, just to start off with?
They're fine. Apparently they're allowed. So I mean, there's nothing else I can really add to that.
I personally love them. I personally love them. But getting a bit more serious here. Both teams have been around for a little while. Goatstrokers56 were apparently in Overwatch season 2 and finished on 82 ranks. Quite good there. Team OwO not around for as long as Goatstrokers. Only for a few months here, it seems like. So Nari, how do you think that's going to affect the games coming up?
That could be just on a note of the teams. I really hope that at some point one of the classes goes, "Oh well, what's this?"
I'm sure they will. So do you think? Okay, so the coordination
Yeah, absolutely. So coming through with a team that's only been together for about a month, they formed in the beginning of August. They've been doing fairly well for themselves. I think they're coming through on a 2 months, which isn't too bad. But of course, the competition just gets more difficult as they go forward in the competition. And coming up against a team that's been around for as long as Goatstrokers has been. Already, they formed May 2017. Their communication, their strats, that should all be there. We should be seeing some incredible teamwork from these guys. So I think it's going to take quite a bit from OwO to overcome.
Yeah, and just looking at the information we've got here, Team OwO seems to rely quite heavily on their Mercy shot caller for their strats to go ahead. Beats, do you think if the Mercy gets killed early in fights, perhaps that could affect them, or do you think it's not going to matter so much?
Well, Mercy getting killed early in a fight usually means it's a wash. She loses main healer. You lost your resurrect. My God, just back out right away. But if I remember correctly, they actually don't have their usual main support player, who's actually their main shot caller. So that, on top of being a somewhat of a newer team, may actually give them a little bit of mission struggle. Hopefully they can manage to pull together here, especially when they're dealing with Goatstrokers who are, so used to each other. They practice a lot. They've been together for a long time now, so there's a lot of synergy there.
But it seems like there's been a bit of banter with the teams beforehand, with a Codlack on the side of Goatstrokers, describing himself as a literal god, so to speak, with a hero pool as deep as the ocean. So do you think him being the Mariana Trent, so to speak, of his team could really affect the outcome of this match, Nari?
Possibly. Again, coming through with the jokes and the banter, we would really hope to see him play like 15 different heroes, possibly at the same time. It would be great. Having a player that can flex to a bunch of different heroes can be a huge boon, but it can also be your downfall. As one of our casters, Cloudburst, mentioned earlier, jack of all trades, master of none. So
well, hopefully we'll see that coming out now. It looks like we're all raring to go. So I'm going to throw this over to our casters, Cloudburst and HX9. Cloudburst, over to you.
Thank you so much, Spaceman. Lovely hearing your voices. And I am joined with the fantastic HX9. How are you doing?
Doing great here, Cloudburst. Very excited to be casting this match. And wow, they're great names. Yeah, we're going to fit in that OwO saying there at some point.
OwO? I thought it was OwO. We're going to have to see. Same thing at the end. Very interesting here, though. And our first map pick being Nepal coming through. I mean, I know we've had a bit of pre-match chat internally about where teams are going to have strengths and misses, so to speak. Where do you think Nepal leans on the side of which team here?
Well, I've got to say that the team that expresses a little bit more interest in playing the non-dive tanks might have a little bit of an advantage here as we go into Nepal. There are a couple maps where Reinhardt Zarya can be a very good one when you get to Shrine, for example. And in the indoor map, sometimes Orisa does see some play. So if I had to make a guess, only both teams did mention Reinhardt. Neither team did mention Zarya. So I'd have to say it's pretty even from that perspective.
Yep, on that fact, Starkill, we have seen his, he actually quite likes Zarya. However, we haven't seen him play it yet. And once again, we have him on the Diva here, and Logan opting for the Zarya, which is a interesting turn of events for Team OwO. We do know that their preferred role, so to speak, would be double sniper compositions. But, I mean, coming into Sanctum right now, we're going to have to see which team can take it on top. With Zash over on the Genji, that's going to make a big play.
Yeah, if I had to make a guess here, I'd start favoring the Goats composition on this one. Probably, or the Goats with Doomfist composition, rather. I think that that's going to have a lot of advantage on the point here, and it's going to be a pretty big point brawl as they go into this.
And I like the entrance here, going through the sides, moving onto the back, and both teams opting for separate flanks.
Yeah, we'll have to see just how they manage to jump in here. Oh man, they did make it onto the point very quick.
Here we go, Goatstrokers jumping in. Toasty just knocking them in the air with the uppercut, not quite getting it. Oh, Blitz almost knocked off edge, but managing to keep it alive. Kodlak back in the fight. Zash picks up Toasty, and this is quite the brawl, but oh my word, environmental kill for Shinoa, taking out Logan. Coalescence so early in the fight from Jerry Cheetah. Please turn off those hacks.
We're seeing the dive kind of fall apart here at the very end, Diva getting booped off. Note when the dive actually engaged, that was to give them the maximum chance of actually winning this one here. By diving at the last second, they minimized the amount of poke damage they were going to take from this team and maximize the amount of uptime that their tanks would have. They do have the advantage, though, coming into the retake here. They're sitting on 3 ultimates. They did a lot of damage there. And, of course, Goats takes a lot of time to build ultimates. So, you know, we'll see what happens here. I'm hoping the Brigida gets her ult very quickly. They can get a very good push with that.
Yeah, having the rally is going to be incremental for the success, but here we go, sound barrier being popped off, but Cabas gets taken out in absolutely no time, and OwO and Klodolski knocked off the edge. This is not the time for you to shine, and it's turning over to the Goatstrokers.
I think a little bit of a miscommunication there on the defense. You know, basically one Lucio ult counteract their entire team there, which is really quite surprising. I think they could have fallen back a little bit more, played inside. There are definitely some angles they could have taken, or maybe even engaged a little bit faster there. And now this defense is looking very strong, holding up with 4 ultimates on point.
Yeah, I'm just waiting for Starkill to come in with the self-destruct. Hopefully he can get something going there. And directly onto the point they go. There's the contest. Rally coming out as well. That Earth Shadow onto ISuckAtLife not being followed up, but Jerry Cheese has to use the Coalescence to try and get some work there. 2 Meteor Strikes, but Toasty T comes out on top of that one. And self-destruct not quite finding anyone from Shinoa's side. And it looks like Team OwO coming out on top, but maybe we can see something happen from Zash. Can he make anything happen? Doesn't quite seem like it. HX9, what do you think of this?
A lot of ult use there on the defensive team. I'm actually quite surprised that they managed to get kind of run over there as quickly as they did. Probably needed to pop the Brigida ult a little bit sooner. And now we see the team that's currently on point here. We got Zarya ult, we got Diva ult, and we got a lot of other stuff coming up here. Again, you know, I think if you're on the offense here, if you're going to be running this dive composition, you might want to consider switching off the Brigida at this point. Doesn't seem to be working so well as they might have planned.
Definitely cause for concern in that regard, but looking at their percentage right now, we're coming at parity now, both teams reaching 55%. There's the Dragon Strike from Zash. Can he find a follow-up? And he does, picks up Cabas, but gets stunned in absolutely no time. Toasty T takes him out with the fantastic fist, and off he goes off the map shortly after from Ajay, and that's going to keep it going a little bit longer. It looks like it's another back and forth with Goatstrokers coming out on top in this fight.
Doesn't feel like the team with more ults is really winning the fights here, which is kind of weird. And, you know, Goat here, the Goatstalkers actually really doing a great execution whenever they get that Lucio ult out there. They're just diving with an amazing amount of coordination. And it really seems to be the only ult they need to close out fight. And they had a couple others that went out there as well. But, you know, that extra health is just keeping them way ahead of the game here. I'm wondering if Lucio ults are just the best ult in the game right now, Cloudburst.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you have Jay popping them off on Goatstrokers the way he does, that extra shield is working exceptionally well. Meteor Strike in the room there, but now Cabba's using it. Best ult in the game, indeed, as both teams are able to use it efficiently. Toasty T dropping down Cadillac, getting that 2k and Starkill following up onto Blitz. No one's going to probably die from that self-destruct, but it looks like Logan and Jerry Cheeser swapping over to the Farmers here, having a bit of trouble here as we are in overtime. 99%, it's ticking away for Goatstrokers to win this, but it's just both of the supports now trying to keep things alive a little bit longer so that they can keep it together in this overtime. Toasty T comes into the fray, but Jay takes out Jerry Cheeser, and we have a rally coming out from I Suck at Life as well, and this is kind of cementing it in for Goatstrokers56.
Wow, so we said Lucio ult's the best ult, and then Cabber's there, unfortunately, only hit 3 targets with it, including himself. So it basically led to them getting cleaved down a little bit, taking a little bit too much damage, and OwO going down to the Goat team. Now, Goatstrokers here probably, could have done a little bit better at, finishing off those supports there at the end. It looked a little bit nervous to me, if you ask me. I mean, the mechanics of them are probably a little bit better than that. So hopefully they're not getting too much of the open league jitters here at the moment. But moving into this next map, Goats switching to Goats.
Yeah, I can see that work here quite well over on Shrine. Having Goats with their exceptional healing potential, their health pools situationally are extremely high, and you're going to be fighting on this elevated point for a lot of the time. But moving into the fight here, both teams contesting. Control point hasn't even unlocked yet, and that's a stun directly onto Blitz. He's going to have a rough time here. Podolski swinging his hammer, hoping to find something. No one going down yet with both of the Goats. This is the effective health pools doing work, but Team OwO being pushed back. Podolski going down kind of rips the team apart a bit and allows Goatstrokers56 to take the point first.
So the difference there is Blitz swinging the hammer versus Podolski not swinging the hammer. They were able to put enough pressure on there that they basically were able to clean out some of the doing just a ton of melee cleave damage there. And that basically won them the point here. And you can also see from their ultimates here, now they're going to get the advantage in the next fight coming up because they won the first fight. So hopefully we'll see some kind of a different strategy here, maybe a little bit of poke coming up from OwO.
Yeah, I could definitely see OwO coming in with a bit of poke because their ultimates are also really close. I mean, 5 of their players' ultimates extremely close to happening. Jerry Teaser, of course, being knocked out of his coalescence, but their self-destruct, and it finds 2. That's a 2k for Shinoa. Blitz and Zash following up in kind, and Goatstrokers just keeping it together.
That's really a set play there. They got the Graviton out and they put the Diva Bomb in such a position that Ryan really couldn't shield all of his teammates in that Graviton surge. So the positioning of that Diva Bomb from Shinoa, that is the key. If you can position your Diva Bombs as well as that every time, you're definitely going to be holding points a lot longer. And now again, look at the ultimates. I mean, we're not really seeing much of an advantage here for this offense.
I feel like we need to see something else come out from Team OwO. They haven't really swapped anyone off to a different character just yet, and that might just be what they need. Rally being popped by Zash, it's going to be very tough for them to get through the armor, but Toasty T might be popping his one soon as well once they get onto the point. That armor is persistent, and there's a charge from Blitz. It's moving forward. Can they get it? Zash takes out Toasty before he's able to really get value out of that rally, and Podolski's moving in as well, but he gets taken out in no time by I Suck at Life. It's at 85%, possibly 90% before they can start contesting. HX9, what is going on?
Well, Starkill swapped here and playing this Diva here. It doesn't seem to be really working out for them. It doesn't seem to really be getting the damage in right now. Might have wanted to swap a little bit earlier off of that Diva at this point. We'll see if they can use their ultimates here and get the kill.
Oh, here we go. That is a fantastic Graviton surge, but that's another one that's even better from Goatstrokers, and that just seals the deal in overtime. This is Nepal 2-0.
It just all comes down to ult usage there. I mean, we saw this Goatstrokers team basically always have an ult advantage or always utilize their ult in such a way that they were getting a kill off of every ult they used. Meanwhile, on the side of OwO, we didn't really see that. We saw that most of the ults got absorbed or blocked or taken out. The Gravitons definitely needed to get eaten at some point by one of these Divas here. That probably would have helped a little bit for both teams, but I mean, that amazing Diva play right there too, and Blitz capitalizing on it. what a great setup there by Goatstrokers to start things off.
I must say, Goatstrokers must be feeling very, very good right now. Having this as the first map for this series versus Team OwO, this is week 4 in Open Division, and this is really the time that they need to be doing the best they can. Currently 4-2 on the log. Having 2 losses to your team's name already spells doom for a lot of teams in Open Division, but maybe they'll have a chance to squeeze through if they can take this one, and it looks pretty good for them right now. Team OwO, what do you think they need to do internally for this?
Well, I think one of the things is better ultimate organization, better ultimate usage. I mean, I mentioned it previously. That seems to be the bigger issue. We saw the missed sound barrier that went out there that only really hit 3 targets. We saw the Earth Shatter get blocked by the shield. So we saw all these little, nuanced details there with ultimates. And if you're going to run the GOATS comp, the ultimate usage is definitely one of the biggest parts of that, and how you actually utilize those ultimates. Because ultimately, you're pretty strong without them, but you're going in a mirror match there. You got to be better than the other team with their ult usage. So if I had to pick a map for them there, I'd have to say, I'd go with something that's a little more dive-centric maybe. They did seem to do OwO did seem to do a little bit better job with their dive composition when they were playing that in the first map, even though it had a kind of a weird mix with Brigitte and everything. So that's where I'd be aiming there.
I think that's a good place for them to start, especially with them not having Tolino on their roster right now. And to the way that they've explained it to us is Tolino is kind of the core of their team. Not having that main support in this role, I have a feeling that could be a very big factor towards this.
Absolutely. I'm really curious here if that is how things are going to play out. It does look like the teams are going to be jumping into a short break here, so we're going to throw it back to our analysts on the desk.
Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, interesting first match I thought there on Nepal. Let's talk about the Sanctum match first. Goatstrokers did look very, very dominant on that, but their composition was slightly weird. They didn't have a main heal for most of that. Big Dan, what did you think about that? How did they win out without that sustained healing?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was they got the early picks. Like it was a little reminiscent of like the OG dive meta. There was not a whole lot of healing there. You just made use of the utility the supports had because you had so much damage. You could get the kills that you needed and build up the ults to last. So that's kind of what they ended up doing. They had utility with the shield bash, with the Lucio speed, of course. They got the kills they needed, and then they built up to the sound barrier and then the Dragon Blade. They used them together, and they used just their ults really well. Despite losing the point, managed to bring it back. And despite their lack of heals, they actually really did a good job of keeping themselves up and getting really fast kills to supplement the fact that their sustain was not good.
Yeah, indeed. And then we went on to Shrine, which was slightly more interesting. We saw goats v goats, so perhaps a lot of goat stroking going on in that match, if I can use the pun there. Larry, what did you think gave Goatstrokers the edge there? Because they did look very, very dominant.
Yeah, I think it comes back to what we were talking about before, the fact that they are an established team. They've been at it for a lot longer, and OwO, there were some weird things coming through there. They threw ults unnecessarily. You've lost your Ryan is down, your Mercy's down, fight's over, man. And we saw Moira Coalescence coming through, and D.Va self-destructs, and the fight was lost. And throwing those ultimates, it wastes them because you could be using them for an effective push in the future. The other issue that they had was not backing out in time. They stood there and they just fed, and it gave the Goats boys so much ult charge. You don't want to do that. If your fight is lost, get out. Don't give the enemy team more ult charge than you absolutely have to. You want that advantage. You don't want them to have it. So definitely their inexperience came through heavily on that map.
So perhaps a little bit of inexperience there. They wasted a few ults when they shouldn't have. What about the compositional changes? There weren't that many. I think we expected to see some after some of those ultimate and they didn't come. Beats, do you think there's anything compositionally wise that they could have changed that might have made the difference in that fight?
Maybe the switch to a Pharah or something like that. The other team didn't have anything that could have effectively dealt with one. Just in general, most King of the Hill maps end up being really good Pharah maps. I think that would have been an interesting swap. It would have been a lot of high damage. It would have really pressured and, brought more notice onto the fact that Goatstrokers didn't have a lot of sustain.
So a lack of sustainer, but we've talked a lot about this control map. We're now going to be moving on to an escort map, which are often played very differently to control maps. A lot less opportunity for individual skill to shine, and it's more about how the team works together. Goatstrokers seem to have worked together a little bit better in control. Do you think they're going to carry on playing as a team like that, or do you think Team OWO are going to have a little look at what's happened? Gone, okay, we've done a few things wrong. We know what we've done wrong. Let's come out at the next map and push forward and go in for the win. How do you think they're going to approach the next map, Nauri?
Yeah, I think, a common problem for a lot of teams is having a particular map type that you're a lot weaker on. So it's entirely possible that control is just not their thing. And possibly they're just going to come barrel through on escort like, haha, this is my playground. Watch me swing my hammer. So I'm kind of hoping for that. I want them to kind of bring it around, change it up a bit, show us some new strats. Goats is it's most effective on control maps. You get your other maps, the odd few like King's Row, where it will shine as well. But control is where it really comes through. So, and it's possible that they're just not particularly strong on the Goats composition. So maybe coming through on the escort, they can bring out the Widow or the Pharah, Doomfist, the Sombra, all of those cool, interesting picks. Maybe a
maybe. But I think it's always good to be good at control, because if it does go to tiebreakers, we will play in control maps. So psychologically, they might be a little bit dented here, but they are going to get a choice of map next. They're going to get to pick. They're going to get to pick either Rialto or Watchpoint Gibraltar. If you were them, Beats, which map would you be picking, and why would you do so?
I actually think I'd pick Watchpoint Gibraltar if I was OwO, because Goatstrokers don't seem to have like a dedicated Widowmaker player or anybody they kind of advertise as like, oh yeah, that's our Widowmaker player, that's our hit scan god, or whatever the case may be. But Team OwO has Logan, so running the sniper composition might be beneficial to them, because there could be a chance Goatstrokers can't do that or can't run an efficient one. So if that's the case, I would definitely pick Gibraltar, as that's a heavily sniper favored map.
Yeah, and perhaps Logan is going to be the sniper carry there, because as we've all seen in the Overwatch in the World Cup recently, snipers could really make a difference if they get those vital picks. But I also like to just mention that Klodolski apparently he designs Lego for a living, so perhaps they're going to be able to build up to a victory. And we are going to be going back to the game very shortly. I think the teams are now deciding on which map they're going to be going to. So it's either going to be Rialto or Watchpoint Gibraltar. So are there any individual players that shone for you in that first control map, Nauri?
Difficult to say, hey. Coming through with those boops, that Doomfist, the Lucio, getting some fantastic boops through there, clearing out that point. That was some fantastic play. But overall, I wouldn't say that there was one particular player, for me anyway. It really came down to them working, so both teams, how they worked together, and obviously particularly Goatstrokers, their synergy is just amazing to watch them play, how they move together, how they coordinate their ultimates, they know what they're doing, and it's like watching music. It's beautiful.
And we saw some Rialto play earlier today, where we saw some Goats come out, we saw some Dive come out. But if people have been keeping up with the Overwatch World Cup, we saw some attack torp, right, from Canada when they were playing Austria yesterday. Do you think we're going to get any Torbjorn picks or Symmetra picks or anything like that, Beats? Do you think we're going to see some fun games, or are they going to be a little bit more serious, perhaps?
I think we're probably not going to see much of that. I feel like that's a Canadian tailored strat. It's not the first time they've done that on attack on escort. That's not something I expect to see out of open division teams. But hey, they might surprise us.
Yeah,
I really hope so.
Those sort of picks, you don't see them very often in the open division, because I think teams are perhaps a little bit more comfortable just playing the Dive, playing the Goats, and a lot of these teams haven't been around for that long. But it does look like we're going to be going over to the game. I'm excited to see if Team OwO can make a comeback. I'd like to see them do so. We saw 3-0 earlier today. Hopefully this goes on for a little bit longer, and I'm sure they've got a few tricks that they're going to be able to pull out of their sleeves. So back over to our casters, Cloudburst and HX9. Cloudburst, take it away for us.
Thank you so much, Spaceman. Moving into this one now, we are going to be going to Watchpoint Gibraltar, which what we discussed a bit there was OwO might just be doing a little bit better over here. And I have to talk about this. Tolino is back, baby. That is their central core shot caller. I think that's very important. What do you think about it, HX9?
Of course, having your shot caller back is pretty critical. I mean, shot callers may be the least thing we can talk about really as casters, as people announcing the thing, because we don't get to hear exactly how they're having that impact in the game. So it should be interesting to see from a secondary perspective how that impacts them. If they're going to have more coordinated dive, better coordinated ult usage, the things that we were talking about and that our analysts were talking about during our quote-unquote halftime there. So hopefully we'll see what the effect is.
I'm really hoping that we can see them bring things back together. Of course, the match that we had last week for Team OwO versus Team Escape, sadly they got 3-0'd by Team Escape. However, that scoreboard does not tell you anything about those matches at all because they were neck and neck. It was millimeters away from Team OwO taking any of the maps back and starting a reverse sweep. Do you think with them being on the back foot now, having Tolino back, having a map where their snipers can start doing some work, you think we could see something work like that for them?
Well, it's certainly possible here, but you can't discount Goatstrokers just setup in general. It looks like they are going to be running Logan here, they're going to be running Zash here on Widowmaker, and we haven't really heard whether or not Zash is actually going to, what he actually plays. It's kind of been assumed that he's going to be their hit scanny kind of person there. But what's interesting about this defense here is also Sombra Widowmaker. I mean, what an interesting composition there. It's going to have a little bit of trouble kind of holding a front line, but they may not need to hold a front line with the offensive comp looking the way it is.
I have a feeling that the defensive comp could switch up quite a bit, but it's a very good point you have there with the type of movement capabilities that they will have with this. But looking at the defense here, having Kodlak on the Sombra, tell me more about that.
Well, in this particular map, it's actually quite good. There are a couple different places you can hack packs and set up camp as Sombra, and it's a very big first point. There's a lot of different nooks and crannies, so it's easy to kind of get around, get to the back line too. That can be pretty great against perhaps a Zenyatta, which we do see coming out here from Cabbers. So I'm thinking that might be something that they could use to turn this around and maybe get this map and set it back to a 1-1 score.
Well, let's see what they can do going forward. Right now, Zash is looking for something on the side of Goatstrokers, but Logan, he's also the one. He's looking for something, but he's having a bit of trouble there. Although the payload is just moving. We haven't seen a full fight yet, but wait a second. Zash takes out Logan. Tolino's gonna have to use up the res.
It's a good opening pick. Once you get that res out of the way, it's gonna leave your Sombra a lot of room to get a kill in the backline that's gonna be permanent.
I'm feeling I was going to expect action a lot sooner, but it's only popping off now. Kledelski and Star kill, Stride in the front, but Zash takes out Toasty T. Zash doing quite a lot of work, and we didn't think that they had a hit scan on their side.
Gonna have to correct here. We do have Brigitte sitting actually in the Sombra position. I didn't notice that change. But, Brigitte a little bit better here on this high ground. You actually already see her taking some swings at these tanks here. We're playing up on the blue boxes there. That's a very solid strategy on this map to keep the high ground, but once Brigitte gets knocked down, she can be quite hard to get back up there.
And Logan taking out Jay this early, we did see Shinoa kind of whiff a little bit with that self-destruct, not quite getting it where he wanted it, but now also having the infra sight on the side of Logan. They're gonna have to play a bit safer, but Zash gets taken out. This opens them up completely. We do see Tolino popping the Valkyrie as soon as possible to try and move in here. We also have Valkyrie on the opposition side, and currently Payload just moving so slowly with Cabbers on it. Logan gets a pick on iSucket Life as he gets Zash back up. Kodlak popping that rally, but the only one getting armor with him at the moment is Shinoa there. Very interesting Transcendence coming out from Cabbers. Not too sure who he wanted to keep alive there, but here's the Dragon Blade from Toasty T. Can he cover things up? No, he gets taken out by Jay, and that's a 2k for Jay, converting over to Tolino, and this is a solid defense from Goatstrokers56.
Yeah, actually, we gotta say, I suck at life there. Getting that resurrection off, popping his ultimate just in time. Oh yeah, that's a good pick. Good start there for them. But you know, getting that res off was huge. It got Zash into play there, and then as their Winston Blitz jumped into the backline, able to take Widow out of the fight there, and that opened up Zash to get some kills. And they probably overcommitted their Genji ult there, but it does look like they switched up to the Brigida. That's why they popped that Genji ult late in the fight.
Hopefully the Brigida is going to give them some more openings moving forward. That stun is just so important, but we almost have only a minute left on the clock for this push. Toasty T moving indeed, getting the stun on Blitz, but he does manage to get back to the low ground. Here's the self-destruct Shinoa wanted, and it doesn't find anyone. Logan allowing to take out Jay, and Zash getting the res though. Right now, Goatstrokers slowly but surely falling apart a bit. Logan popping that infra site, but taking quite a bit of damage, not having the right positioning, and just having Kodlak on the top here, not worried at all about anything. And Team OwO aren't able to push forward. Zash getting a kill on Logan as well, just completely stopping their assault. Toasty T left alone on the ground there under the car wash. This is a very rough time for Team OwO.
I mean, they're getting the kills there with Logan onto Zash, but then they're not pushing the payload. The payload's kind of been just sitting around there, so they're not really taking advantage of their early picks. It's time for OwO here to really just change their strategy a little bit, but oh no!
Yeah, that 2k just completely stopping it. I mean, 12 seconds left on the clock. I don't think they can regroup with both of their supports down at the moment.
Well, it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. And look at all these ultimates sitting in the bank there.
Yeah, Primal Rage, though, coming in from Klodolski. Gets taken out as soon as he touches the point. If he delayed that just a little bit more, he would have gone in with Star Kill. And here, Transcendence being used very, very liberally. He has to use it as soon as possible. Klodolski does get res from Tolino, who's popped the Valk. Hopefully they can get some more out of this. I Suck at Life also doing as much as possible. Battle Mercy at the ready. And I feel like this is a very tough Gibraltar match for Team OwO right now.
They just weren't really able to close out fights as they played through that. They were getting opening picks. They were doing what they needed to do at the beginning, but then it just seemed to slow down and fizzle out for them. They're going to have to hold really early on this point in order to hold this, because that payload didn't even quite make it to the end there. You can actually see that it basically made it just a bit up the ramp. So that's going to be an early hold requirement for OwO here, and that means the composition is going to be severely limited.
It's a very tough one. I mean, it's also a very awkward angle where you need to get it to. It's just after you exit the low ground, that cavern, and as soon as you come back up, that's exactly where your opposition is wanting to jump down on you, and that's where they need to get it to. I am very worried for Team OwO right now.
Yeah, there are a couple strategies you can employ here to try to hold up really far forward. One is the hold under the first bridge strategy, but you need a lot of burst damage for that. So they're running this Genji. I don't think they're going to plan on doing that. Another is the hold under strategy, holding at the Mega at the very bottom with a team that is very anti-Widowmaker, a triple tank, sometimes a double tank Mei team has been used down there. So there are options there that may let you hold down there with kind of a non-traditional strategies. End of the day, though, the best strategy is just to run that dive composition and just do it better than their opponents did.
I think there's a lot of these two teams trying to match each other, and at the moment, it's Team OwO that needs to match Goatstrokers56, and they're really setting the pace of the match here. I'm having trouble trying to find where Team OwO can take this one back, because they're at such a back foot on this, and it puts them 2-0, and that must be breaking their morale right now.
Well, if I were them, I would aim more towards the next match to try to shake this one off. I mean, you got to play this one out, sure, but at the end of the day, you want to go into that, you know, a little time between matches and maybe ask a few questions as to what you could do better. Right now, there's just not time to really think about it.
Definitely already Zash is looking for Logan's head, having a bit of trouble getting it though. Quick jump up by Blitz, but Logan finds Zash. This could be OwO starting out their stop here, their defenses.
Yeah, but look at this payload. I mean, it's almost already there.
Oh, it's so close to being there. Team OwO need to backtrack, but they need to be more aware of the objective. Oh, it is so close. It's about 8 meters away from the point right now. That is just one Winston. And then right away, we do see the dive coming in on the side of Blitz. He's looking to disrupt them. They get the kill on Tolino after he reses Logan. Klodolski does go down as well. And that's 2 down. Blitz does fall, but Kodlak right now on his own, pushing through. Toasty T is trying to stop him in his tracks. Cabros is back here. Hopefully he can do something. Ice Like Life is back here to just heal up Kodlak enough for him to get the Dragon Blade. I can't see Team OwO getting it back at all.
Wow, what a quick game there by Goatstrokers. I mean, they executed the dive a little bit better. They took advantage of their early picks and pushed into the backline. We saw both the dive tanks actually going much, much further into the backline. So that's just exactly the kind of thing you need to see here when you're playing this map. That's how you execute a proper dive strategy. You can't just wait around. And so that's what OwO should take to the practice room. They should be thinking, hey, we can do that same thing. We can do that same kind of coordination that we saw from our opponents.
Yeah, once again with the having to match match the pace that we do see coming in from Goatstrokers, something I feel that they need to do there is Tolino is back, but he's not quite carrying the weight here. Logan's also having a lot of trouble with Zash, but it's such a difficult one. I do see a sub coming in here. JZX is going to be moving in, and he's quite the superb player for Team OwO.
Yeah, we know that JZX, he's a diva player. He also has Zarya in the mix as well. That's kind of the person we were expecting to see. I think I was more expecting to see on the first map on Nepal. Definitely would have been to their advantage to have that Zarya expertise that he seems to possess there. So we'll hopefully see that come into play on a different map. They are going to pick Temple of Anubis this time. And, you know, that one can have a little bit of an advantage for those kind of ground and pound compositions on point 2. But on point A, they are going to have to execute that dive better than they did on Watchpoint Gibraltar.
I feel like it's going to be a tough one for Team OwO right now. I mean, it's got some good sight lines. Hopefully we can see Logan do some magic. JZX coming into the mix might be the missing piece that they needed. But at the moment, Goatstrokers looking so good, and as you've said, Team OwO needs to match the dive or the composition and the synergy that Goatstrokers are currently putting in place. But Goatstrokers is already doing it better, so them coming into Temple of Anubis, this is momentous, or a map that works with momentum. Once you get the first point, you need to roll to the second one as soon as possible. I think that's something where Goatstrokers is going to shine.
Absolutely. I mean, we saw it before, too. They seem to do a great job of capitalizing on when they get the advantage on any kind of point there. That's not always that's not always the case for some teams. Some teams are better at executing, taking their time, and pulling things together. So hopefully we do see OwO here putting up a little bit more of a fight. And again, right now is their time to talk about it. Right now is their time to set up and see what they can do to change things up here. Let's talk a little bit about the defensive composition here as they roll out. This is going to be one of the more traditional DPS setup and heal tank setups that we have seen in the past. What's interesting about this one is you got the Junkrat, Widowmaker. That particular DPS composition has kind of been downplayed a little bit in recent metagames, I would say. The Junkrat kind of being lost in favor of some other ones, but I think it still works out quite well.
I feel the same about that. Their composition is, it's not entirely what you'd expect. It is quite similar to a lot of the traditional ones, but I have a feeling they're going to be able to keep this one going. I'm just worried that once it lands onto the point, there's going to be too much pressure on their supports and their tanks, and the DPS are going to struggle a bit. But let's see what OwO can do, though. Tolino over on the Sombra.
It looks like they're doing a Sombra Scout, then a composition swap here. They're going to see if it's dive or not dive, and they're going to pick the appropriate composition here.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to go about it. You can see they're definitely playing a bit more methodically, trying to keep things together. I mean, morale must be a huge role here, so they're just trying to take it slow.
They got the right composition for this. They saw the Widowmaker, and now they know to run Goats here. One of the best anti-Widowmaker compositions. That's why a lot of Widowmakers aren't playing on this map.
Moving on to the point already, however, Kodlak picks up Tolino, that almost breaks apart the Goats, and as we see here, losing both their supports, it's already over for OwO.
Right strategy, wrong execution. Losing your Moira early on is basically, it's everything. And now you see Junkrat going to have that wheel available. Now, Junkrat is a very valuable hero against Goat composition, but there are some weaknesses that he has to it as well. And one of those is just not really being able to break through the shielding. He's got to shoot around the shielding, as well as when you run D.Va with the composition, D.Va can actually absorb a lot of that damage.
Oh, but Zash going down early in the fight here. This is Team OwO's opening that they needed. We do see Blitz trying to land into the back here. A fade coming out from Tolino, trying to keep himself alive. Hopefully he can keep things going. But they're running right into a tire. This could spell doom for them. Kodlak picks up 2. Toasty T and Klodolski go down, but its push might not be over for them just yet. They have to play quite safe, and they decide to back off.
Sins of the first push coming back to haunt them there. As they see that Junkrat tire come in, even though they had the advantage there by picking up Zach early. Zach's just now running out of his infra sight though. That is going to give these guys a little bit more of a room to go through here. But again, look at where this Junkrat is. They're really thinking about him. You can tell by how they're going for the high ground here.
Yeah, the high ground is exactly where they want to be. And moving right into the front, I love seeing the Lucio in front with the bubble from the Zarya. That gives so much charge. It allows for them to keep moving forward. A quick scout, and here they go onto the point. Coalescence coming up, but self-destruct in from Shinoa picks up Logan. Ice Suck at Life goes down from JZX though, and things are getting a little bit difficult and dicey for Goatstrokers. Right now, Shinoa trying to take down Klodolski, but Klodolski comes back with a charge, taking out Blitz. Shinoa defense matrix doing as much as possible. There's another Riptide, picks up Klodolski. And we do still see Shinoa alive. He's trying to get some work out of here. And Team OwO win the fight.
Yeah, they did a much better job that time of getting to the point, going to that high ground. They didn't have to worry about the Junkrat tire until the very end of the fight, which helped them quite a bit. The biggest thing, though, getting that kill on Mercy early on, it reduced the amount of healing that they were taking. And Mercy, I'm not sure really has an excuse of dying there. There are definitely a lot of high ground players that were running around, the Junkrat especially, where she could have flown to safety. So good job on OwO capitalizing on the positioning of Ice Suck at Life there.
I like what they're doing here as well. Moving quickly, I did speak about the momentum required for Temple of Anubis right now, but they could have a bit of trouble with Kodlak over on the Junkrat now, just bursting them down. Here we go. We heard a grab, but it did get eaten. There we go. JZX picks up Kodlak with that self-destructive. Shame that the grab was eaten, but they're still able to come out on top. There's Earth Shatter just for Shinoa, who's not going down. So much healing coming from Ice Suck at Life, who has just popped Valkyrie right now, trying to get some work out of this. Tolino using up that Coalescence, moving in deep, not quite aiming for the area where you would expect it. Kodlak coming back, launching Klodolski into the air. Jay's back up, but there's a Dragon Strike from a lovely swap over to Hanzo in Zash. And it could be quite a tough one for Team OwO to still win this. Klodolski keeping his team alive a little bit longer. Shinoa does pick up Toasty though. If he was a little bit further forward, he would have kept that alive. And now Jay is needing to do something very quickly. He needs that ult charge once again. After using Transcendence, not quite getting the value he needed. But Team OwO having to back off from Blitz and Shinoa doing some fantastic work on their front line.
They did a great job there pushing in, getting that tick on the point with a little bit of zoning action there. But definitely had some superior positioning of their tank, putting themselves in places where it really threatened these weaker targets like the supports, and it forced them into kind of a back foot position. So it's a good job on their part there, but now they're sitting without any ultimates. They're running into that Junkrat tire again, and D.Va got massively staggered there as well. So they're losing about a minute here. And their next push is definitely going to have to really be focused on getting that Junkrat's tire out of the way.
The next push is almost a make or break right now because of the ultimates coming up on Goatstrokers' side. Team OwO looking at this with bated breath. They don't want to be double 3-0'd here, and Temple of Anubis is where they can bring things back.
We'll have to see. They're going around the right way, though. I mean, going this particular positioning is an excellent way to start things off. But Zash opening up with that Dragon Strike, that's not going to be good for this push. It's already over.
Not at all. Having Toledo go down just breaks apart their assault. But hopefully if they can get a pick, and Cabas picks up Zash, if they can still do something with this. But no, having Kodlak throwing out this Riptire, this is where we want to be watching. Can it get someone? And yes, it does. Toasty T goes down. Blitz takes out Logan because they're running scared. And it's less it's probably going to be less than 2 minutes on the clock when they move back in.
This is the last push for OwO, and in my humble opinion, look at this. They've got all their ultimates available, and they're going against no Junkrat ult. The only key on the defense here they're going to have to worry about is the Mercy, getting that Valkyrie out there and healing through most of their damage. So they're going to have to get in there quick, find a way to kind of nullify that. Also, I'd be watching for that Reinhardt ult. You know, that hammer down can be pretty critical as Goats is a very close quarters comp. They tend to stack up a lot, but they have plenty of ways they can block. The Zarya shield, the Reinhardt shield, and maybe even the Brigida shield if they're feeling a little classy.
Let's hope they're classy enough. Rally does come out from Toasty T. That is a lot of armor. Coalescence comes out. That's a lot of healing. All they need now is a lot of damage. And they're going to be moving in with the bulk, though Dragon Strike not quite finding anyone, but having them to split up. There's a huge Earth Shatter coming in from Blitz, knocking down 4, picking up Klodolski. Toasty T looking very unhealthy, but not much for Tolini to bring that back. There's the Transcendence over the self-destructing Graviton combo put up by Team OwO, completely nullified by a single player. Godlike picks up Toasty T, and they're gonna have to back off with a minute left on the clock.
Well, the good news is you got 47.5%, so you're not looking at a one-tick cap. The bad news is you're probably not getting in there with this last push. Now, not all hope is lost, however. You got Klodolski sitting on that Earth Shatter. We'll have to see him get a very big pickup, much like Blitz did on them in the previous fight. That's really the only way they're going to get this through. And once again, we see Coldlack sitting on this tire. The tire has been the bane of the OwO team so far.
That tire has been the tire that will end it all for OwO right now in open division, and this is what they have to watch out for. Zash very close to the Dragon Strike as well. We do see a complete shift in team composition from Team OwO. 30 seconds left on the clock. They've picked up the Tracer, they've picked up the Genji. Can they pull things back?
It's going to be interesting to see. They have to get to that backline though with this dive composition, and Brigida's already sitting there waiting
Dragon
for him.
Strike. 10 seconds after the clock. Dragon Strike keeping them away. We do have the Riptire going in slowly. It is a silent killer. It takes out Klodolski after he's gotten blitzed, but JZNX takes I Suck at Life out. This is the entrance Team OwO needs, and hopefully we can see some more ultimates. There goes Zash, still doing so much alongside Kodlak. Team OwO backing off here, and I can see this is a full hold on the second point for Goats.
Yeah, I'm very surprised that OwO actually made it as far as they did in there with what they have. They did an excellent job of really using their new dive composition, that's the composition they swapped to, and getting some of the backline folks. They just had to go against, you know, the ultimate difference there. I think they might have wanted to stick on that Reinhardt even and just gone dive with Reinhardt. I think they would have actually come up a little bit ahead that way with that Earth Shatter. It's a very important ultimate. They had time to get to that point. So a little surprised they did that, but they did execute what they had very well. It's just the defense already had that Junkrat ult, and they already had so many other things, other ultimates very close by. It's just a dry run. When you switch compositions like that, Cloudburst, at the end of the day, you're hoping for 2 pushes, not just 1.
That is so... I think that's a crux that teams often miss out on. They're like, this isn't working, we need to change something up. Their comms just go absolutely wild, trying to kind of clatter about to find exactly what they need, but they don't think about the macro and what's happening in the fight at the moment. And I agree with you. I think that Earth Shatter coming in from Klodolski could have made it for them, but not having that it's such a massive crux for them. And now they're staring down the possibility of having 2 3-0s in a row for this open division. But on the bright side, the learning experience for this team, which is a very young team with each other, I think that this is absolutely fantastic going forward for this team.
Well, they are running an interesting composition here on defense. This could work very well in their favor. This is the use Symmetra to get your, immobile people up on the high ground. Now, they chose to just put the Orisa up there and not put the Zenyatta up there. That's not very usual. Usually you get the Zen up here too. You try to turtle up a little bit. And you use that Junkrat trap and Junkrat explosive damage up on top of it. But their Zenyatta is going to opt this to actually be up on the top here on the left side if you're facing away from the point, right side if you're facing towards it. The dive composition that they're running on the offense is actually a pretty good composition against this. If they're going to position in this particular way, they're going to be able to really take advantage of the Zenyatta's positioning.
I'm looking forward to see what Cabas can do on the side here. We do see dive composition trying to get on their blitz right away on the point. It took a while for Team OwO to really notice him being there. So that's a bit of a tough one for them already. Podolski, shield looking a bit shaky, he does get it back up, and Zash is playing a very interesting game looking for these kills.
Too soon, Blitz. Too soon. You got to go with your team when you're jumping in on that one. And again, I don't think they've really noticed exactly where all the team is positioned right now on this defense. So Goatstompers, you know, they've got to really think about where they want to go in and go in together at this point. I don't know. It seems like they're confused a little bit about this defense.
And that's exactly what I think Team OwO needs right now. They need to play the devil's advocate in their team compositions or their strategies, and that's what they're doing right now. However, Goatstrokers finding it, they are at the top here, hoping to get something. Team OwO falling apart here. Kodlak taking out Tolino to kind of end that fight.
Narissa really couldn't do anything. We see on the point here, the deep trying to hold for a last minute, a bit of the hold here. She's gonna go ahead and clean up top. But again, the Orisa, when you have the Zenyatta on the opposite side, Orisa's just shooting into a place where there's no one really to hit. They're all around line of sight. So you didn't really get to utilize your Orisa, and you didn't get to utilize your Widowmaker. And we know that Logan has been doing this excellent job on this Widowmaker, winning a lot of the fights, the one-on-ones against Zash as well. So I don't know. I think that's, again, positioning that Zen up there is a misplay that I think might cost him the entire match.
Let's hope not. We do see a Riptide coming out though, and it gets taken out by Jay shortly after Zash takes out Logan. Here comes the Dragon Strike as well from Kodlak. Can he find what he needs? And he does, taking out Toasty T. Zash takes out Cabers in the trade. Self-destruct comes out, not quite finding anything. Zash gets Toledo for another 2k. And this is just Goatstrokers taking over on Temple of Anubis.
Yeah, the Goatstrokers seem to have pretty much closed this one out, going off the back of having that massive ult advantage there. We see Brigida here trying to swing in, get on the point. They're trying to get this stall here, but they're going to need to pick much better stall characters than these if they want to get them out. Where's the Doomfist?
Where's the Doomfist? Where's the May? Toasty T having a tough time in the front there. And this is it. Goatstrokers take it 3-0 versus Team OwO. Looking very strong going into Open Division further.
I want to see the OwO team that was there in the first match, the very first round. They had it at 99-99, and they just seemed to fall apart after that. They seemed to not really get their bearings straight. Either that or Goatstrokers there got a little bit better in the warm-up as well. So, you know, very happy with how the Goatstrokers performed there. I think that they had very good execution and everything. They took advantage of a lot of OwO's mistakes. I think OwO probably just going to need to spend a little bit more time together, get a little more used to each other in their future games. And I really wish them luck because they definitely have the mechanical skill there. They just need to work a little bit better as a team to move a little bit forward.
I agree with you completely, but to break it down, let's take it back to our analyst desks. Spaceman, take it away.
Thank you very much, guys. Wow. What a match. It was 3-0, but I thought there were moments of brilliance from both teams. Let's talk specifically about Gibraltar. Obviously, Team OwO lost the first match, so they got to pick that match. Do you think they were perhaps relying on their snipers, maybe, or anything else, Beats, for this particular map? Is there a reason why they picked it?
Oh, I'm sure it is. You know, they have Logan as their hit scan player. He plays the Widowmaker. They probably hoped that he would be able to, you know, get the kills necessary, but they really just couldn't count on Zash, who was just popping off the entire round.
Yeah, I mean, we saw a lot of good Widow play there. I really enjoyed watching that Widow duel, actually, because Logan did get a few picks on him occasionally, and a few other players. Is there a reason why you think Team OwO perhaps couldn't capitalize on those picks, Nauri?
Geez, biggest issue that they were having with Zash on that Widow was not contesting him. Like they weren't taking the fight to him. They weren't getting rid of him. They weren't dealing with him. And even when they were trying to deal with him, he was too slippery. Getting the picks, getting those headshots on heroes like Genji, getting the picks on the supports, getting the picks on Logan, effectively taking him out of the fight completely. Like a Widow that good, you've got to be dealing with it. You cannot just let her have free reign, especially in that open area. They held quite far back, and they just allowed the enemy to walk into that big open space where Widow has sight lines for days, and she was like, ping, ping, ping. You got to deal with that, man.
Yeah, and speaking of sightlines and Widow play, we moved on to Anubis as a map, 2CP there, and I thought some actually very good play from Team OwO there. They got the first point. It was looking very close to them getting the second point. We saw a lot of goats there, and then they switched it off at the end. I was really hoping for a bit of a win there, and it did look quite close. Why do you think perhaps Beats they didn't manage to clutch out the win on that map?
I think that was mostly because they had trouble dealing with the Junkrat. So much damage was coming into them. They were charging the Riptire, and I think they just weren't using their ults correctly. You know, there was a point they had 6 ults, and they didn't manage to actually, you know, they couldn't get the finish, and then they swapped to the dive comp with less than a minute left, and you know you can't do that. When you swap with less than a minute, you pretty much guarantee you're not going to build any ults, so you really don't have anything you can use to win the fight.
Yeah, but okay, there were a few things that perhaps they didn't do so well there, but I thought Goatstrokers actually very well coordinated team, especially with their dives and with their defenses. Nari, are there any particular players on that side that really stood out to you throughout the match today?
Goatstrokers in particular, or just overall?
Yeah, I mean, we saw overall, if you'd like, but specifically on Goatstrokers, we had the Kodlak, the literal god there. I quite liked him on the. I quite liked him on the Junkrat. He did very well on Anubis there, and he played a bit of Genji as well. So he was a highlight for me. But is there any other particular player or any particular character that you thought had an effect on the game?
Zash. I feel like he came through and like Kodlak, the literal god, and Zash was like, no. Just completely usurped him, stole his crown. I mean, we were sitting there watching. Beat was like on first person on Zash, and the whole fight we're like, yeah, D.Va's killing things. Hey, look at Zen like taking out some things, and we're like, nah, man, this Widow battle is lit. Zash just took it to a whole nother level. That was so much fun to watch.
No, Beats, I know you in particular were enjoying the Widow battle between them, and perhaps Zash came out a little bit on top, but there was a bit of a Widow battle on Anubis as well. Obviously, they had the Orisa shield on the high ground. What did you think about high ground defense there by Team OwO?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. It was so smart because they played it correctly too. You kept the Orisa up there, protected the Widowmaker so she could just take free shots and not have to worry about getting killed, unless Dove, of course. And you'd use the D.Va on the other side to go in and out to contest the point, to prevent point capture, while the rest of the team would just throw damage in from above. It did go really well, but unfortunately, because a lot of them stayed left on the onto the left side of the point, they got focused really hard. It threw them off of their rhythm, and then it finally gave the room Zash needed to get those finishing kills.
Yeah, so a really good defense. It didn't quite work out. Going forward in the open division here, I mean, both teams started off with a win to loss record. So now one team is getting another win on the sheet, and one team unfortunately getting a loss. How do you think? Like, Goatstrokers finished 8-2 in open division season 2. They've already lost 2 games. I hope they try and keep their 8-win record. Do you think they will, Nari, with the way they were playing?
The way they were playing today, I think it is entirely possible. But the thing to keep in mind is obviously as you progress through the competition, if you're at that streak and you're doing really well, you only have 1 or 2 losses, the teams you're coming up against are on the same streak. And it could just become so much more difficult for them. But I hope that they take these games and they just let it fuel that inner fire and just really bring it in their coming matches. I think they're going to be a team to watch.
Okay, and Boulevard, same again, but this time Team OwO. Unfortunately, they did lose today, but they're going to be up against teams perhaps a little less coordinated, a little less skilled than Goatstrokers. How would you like to see them progress through the rest of the season? Or Nauri?
Sorry, one more time?
How would you say so? Team OwO, obviously they've had a loss here today. What are you expecting to see from them for the rest of the open division season?
Well, this is their 3rd loss now, so I think they no longer have a chance at actually getting to the finals and finishing, getting to the top 4. But still, they can take this opportunity to work on some things they need to work on and take it the rest of the way. Finish strong, I like to say, and they could use this experience and whatever they learn and use it for the next time.
Okay, finish strong then towards the end of the season for Team OWO. Okay, that is it from us at Broadcast GG, broadcasting week 4 of season 3 of the Open Division. We will be back later with some of the North American games coming, so please do check us out later today. It's going to be great. I'd just like to thank all of the casters, the analysts on the desk here, and the producers and people behind the scenes that make this happen and bring this to you. And I'd like to thank you, the audience, as well. Hope you've had a great time. I certainly did. I'm Spaceman, and that is it from me. Thank you.
Is it my fault? Keep counting change to buy myself some time. To sort through my neoplastic mind. If I run away and change my name, then maybe I'll find a new perspective in time. Is it my fault? Is it my fault? Is it my fault? I can't keep these thoughts at rest. Is it my fault? If I can't calm myself down, they won't let me take a breath. Is it my fault? Is it my fault? Is it my fault? Is it my fault? I can't keep these thoughts at rest. Is it my fault? If I can't calm myself down, they won't let me take a breath. I felt like running through the pouring rain. I felt like letting go of my mind. I felt it coming with no ground to brace. I think I just might be bad for you. Drowning by the fact that I don't need a reason to be bad for you. I'm losing my head and I'm mad for you. For you. I think I'm going crazy and a little confounded. 'Cause I'm helpless, I can't wait to be drowned by your love, baby. You're a stranger, get on the unbalanced, just a little damage, but with you I don't wanna be here. I felt like running through the pouring rain. I felt like letting go of my mind. I felt it coming with no ground to break. think I just might be bad for